Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Runes and Red Tape, the storytelling channel where magic meets paperwork and epic quests have to be approved in triplicate. Oh, and please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything and it really helps the channel out. Right then, this week's story is called Noshit Sherlock and the Vanishing Souls. Noshit Sherlock sat in his ramshackle office on the corner of Purgatory Lane and Limbo Avenue, a pipe smoke curling around his translucent head, despite the pipe being tobacco-free for decades. The brass plaque on his door read, Sherlock, Phantom Detective Agency, a beacon for the lost, the desperate and the damned. His motto was simple, no lies, no nonsense, just the truth and no shit. The ether, that hazy, mist-filled dimension where souls with unfinished business lingered between heaven and hell, needed his detective skills because lately those souls had started disappearing. Now, rain fell in the ether that day because even the dead couldn't escape the British weather. A soft knock interrupted Sherlock's brooding. He placed his violin on the desk and leaned back. The door creaked open. A dishevelled ghost glided in, hair a wispy white cloud, dress torn and stained green with ectoplasm. Her hollow eyes flickered like dying candle flames. Sherlock's piercing eyes scanned her, reading the energy clinging to her like cobwebs. Dead, but not recently. Definitely a long-time resident. Sherlock leaned forward, sniffing. East End accent. Whitechapel, I'd wager. Flat toes from clogs, bow-legged from rickets. You sold fish at the market. He tapped her hat. A mother of pearl buttons, a pearly queen. He leaned back. So, what took you so long? Oh, it's not for me, Mr. Sherlock. It's my husband, Willie. His soul's gone and vanished. Vanishing souls. Sherlock had heard the whispers, spirits disappearing, energy drained like candles in the wind. It wasn't supposed to happen. After all, the ether had rules. Sherlock turned toward the back room. Watson! The door opened. A squat, elderly gentleman in a grey three-piece suit and butcher's apron appeared. The apron featured a sausage and the words, prick with a fork. No need to shout. Watson's voice was warm, playful. I was stuffing an old bird and came as soon as I could. He turned to their visitor. Watto Watson, is everything all right? All right? Sherlock barked, standing up. Of course not. We've another vanished soul. He grabbed his deerstalker and tossed Watson a bowler. Come on, it's not like you've got anything better to do. The woman led them to Spectre's Hollow, to a mansion crumbling into mist, the kind of place where even ghosts went to disappear. Here's where we live, Governor, she whispered over the howling wind. But it weren't like this before. Times are a-changing. She gestured to the walls, the cracked windows and the floors covered in a thin layer of spectral dust. It used to be solid like, real. Now it's like going all soft and floppy, just like my Willie. Inside, an oppressive weight pushed down. The air hummed with dark energy. Sherlock's ghostly senses tingled. Strange markings glowed on the floor, pulsing sickly green. The woman shrank back. Oh, I ain't seen nothing like that before. Sherlock's hand passed through the glowing floor. Runes. Ancient binding symbols. He looked at Watson. Someone's messing with the natural order, and if the Grim Reaper finds out, he'll shut down the whole ether, us included. Watson paled. Why risk it? I quite like having my head. Sherlock turned to his client. Your husband didn't vanish, I'm afraid. He was taken. Leaving their client behind, they made for the underworld's black market. If anyone knew about forbidden runes and soul-snatching, it would be Innocent the Broker, an ex-pope and current trafficker in the darker aspects of death. The market was a chaotic maze where shadowy figures peddled cursed relics, stolen memories, fake news, and fragments of lost souls. "Gentlemen," a voice purred from the shadows. Innocent leaned against the wall, an oily black shape with glowing red eyes. "Heard through the grapevine you were looking for me." "Skip the pleasantries. I need information." Innocent's grin revealed sharp teeth. "You always do. So how can I help the great detective?" Sherlock pulled out a still glowing shard. "Who's using this?" Innocent inspected the fragment, then backed away. "Nasty business is that. Soul-binding magic, ancient as death himself." He crossed himself. "And just as dangerous." "As dangerous as the Grim Reaper himself? Come on! No one has that much power, not even his wife, Mother Nature." Sherlock frowned. "But you have got me intrigued, so come on, who's behind it?" Innocent licked his lips. "There are rumours of a new player. Someone with lots of power and a grudge against the natural order. They're taking souls before their time." "Listen, Innocent. No games. I want the truth, and I know truth can hurt, especially when your customers discover what you did when you were alive." Innocent's smile faltered. "Blackmail, Mr. Sherlock, that's low, even for you." He hissed. He paused briefly. "Oh, fine. Her name is Moansa Lot, a dark sorceress of the forbidden arts, wants her own afterlife. She calls it Pandemonia." Sherlock nodded. "Good. Now where can I find her?" Innocent made a show of looking around to make sure no one was listening. He sneered. "That I don't know. She's clever. She moves around, never staying in one place for too long. But if I was you, I'd start looking in the Weeping Woods near the Gates of Despair. That's her kind of scene." Sherlock tipped his hat and grabbed Watson's arm as he turned to leave. "Be careful, Sherlock," Innocent called after him. "She's not like the others. She'll kill you. Again." "The Weeping Woods are the other way, Sherlock." Watto Watson was confused. "If Innocent is right, then we're going up against a formidable foe, so I want to have a little chat with our favourite scientist, Ninstein." "Is that wise? He's as mad as a box of frogs, and that's no mistake. Last time we were there, he was building some sort of particle accelerator called a Large Hadron Collider." "A Large Hadron Collider, Watson. Hadron." Watson looked sheepish. "Come on, Watto. We're here now." Sherlock pressed the doorbell. The door was already ajar. "Ah, Watto, Noshit, do come in." Ninstein's was a very old man. Even his ghostly apparition had an age to it. His dishevelled look was complemented by the white, wild, and wiry hair upon his head. Even the white lab coat he was wearing was frayed on the cuffs and collar. The variously coloured stains hinted at many a failed scientific experiment. He coughed. "Good afternoon, Nine. I hope you and the rest of your family are doing well. I understand that you are working on a new special theory of everything. How's that going?" Sherlock was not looking at the scientist. His eyes were busy scanning around the laboratory that he found himself in. "They're all good, thank you. Relatively speaking, of course." Sherlock interrupted. "Have you heard of a sorceress called Moansa?" Ninstein shook his head. Sherlock sighed. "By all accounts, she's an extremely powerful spirit, and I'm going to have to fight her." "What? No!" Watto exclaimed. Sherlock waved away his concerns and continued. "Apparently she is stealing souls." "What are souls?" Ninstein gave in to a short coughing fit. Sherlock took a tobacco-less calabash pipe from out of his coat pocket. He pointed it in Ninstein's direction. "Now look here, Nine. You and I both know that magic is just poorly understood science." He took an imaginary drag as Nine nodded in agreement. He fetched a small glowing shard from his jacket pocket and placed it on Nine's desk, who immediately picked it up to examine it. Sherlock paced the room. Taking a magnifying glass from his top pocket, he examined the contents of a vial and the dust that had collected on a large wooden table. He sniffed the glass vial. He abruptly returned to Nine's desk and snatched the shard from out of his hands. He growled. "It would appear that someone is not being entirely honest with me, Mr. Steins." He grabbed the right hand of Ninstein's. "Red, orange stains under the fingernails, a hacking cough, and the vial that smells of sulfur dioxide." A realization hit him hard. "Weather watchers! You've been making thermometers for the human weather watchers up on the surface, haven't you?" Ninstein nodded meekly. "Dear non-existent God, next time you'll be telling me that you've made them barometers as well." Ninstein looked away. He quickly changed the subject. "I think I might be able to help you with Moansa if—" he smiled faintly. "If you can overlook my little indiscretion. I promise I won't do it again. Cross my heart. Hope to live." The weeping woods were as dreary as they sounded, a twisted forest of skeletal trees whose leaves dripped black tears onto the musty undergrowth. The gates of despair loomed in the distance, an ominous archway leading to the deeper, darker realms of the afterlife, where the worst of the worst were imprisoned, tyrants, tax collectors, merchant bankers, and those people who talked during theatrical performances. Sherlock could feel the pull of dark magic long before he saw her. Moansa stood in a clearing, her back to him, chanting in a low, guttural voice. Around her the air crackled with energy as a dozen glowing souls hovered in a circle, trapped by her power. Sherlock turned to his friend and whispered, "Do you remember what Nine said you had to do?" "Well, of course," replied Watson, patting his pocket. "I had to shake the baton vigorously until the charge builds and it achieves full rigidity." "Excellent. Now go hide behind that tree." Sherlock pointed to a gnarled oak 20 yards away. Watson scurried off, clutching the device to his chest like a nervous bridesmaid with a bouquet. Once Watson had reached relative safety, Sherlock took a few steps forward into the clearing. Mr. Sherlock, there you are," Moansa said without turning around. Her voice was cold, devoid of emotion. "I knew you'd come, sooner or later, probably sooner, knowing your reputation for punctuality." "Then you'll also know I'm here to stop you," Sherlock replied, stepping fully into the clearing. Moansa finally turned. Her eyes glowed fierce. She was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure, with green eyes and cascading green hair. She wore a figure-hugging black leather catsuit that shimmered in the ether's glow. Unlike the other ghosts, Moansa had the power to take on solid form, which made her considerably more dangerous and better dressed. "Stop me?" she laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You can't stop me, Sherlock. The afterlife is broken, and our mutual friend, the Grim Reaper, would prefer to stick his skeletal head in the etheric sand. I am merely here to mend that which has been broken." By stealing souls, Sherlock narrowed his eyes. "That's not fixing anything, that's playing God. And we've spent an awfully long time getting rid of those soul suckers." She stepped closer, her faint green aura sparking in the mist. "But you see, my dear Sherlock, these souls are simply lost and aimless entities devoid of any reason to exist. I'm giving them purpose in death. After all, haven't you, the greatest phantom detective of the age, wondered about the meaning of death?" "But you're enslaving them." Sherlock held his voice firm, even as the seeds of doubt began to grow in his mind. "Slowly and surely you're robbing them of their energy to feed your own insatiable lust for power, and I won't let you." Moansa's smile vanished. "Then you'll join them." And without warning she sent a wave of dark green energy toward him. Sherlock had anticipated the attack. He dodged, rolling onto the ground and springing to his feet in one fluid motion. He sprinted toward the tree where Watson was hiding. "Have you got it hard yet?" Sherlock hissed. "I keep shaking it, but it's still limp." Watson's voice was apologetic, his hand a blur of frantic motion. Moansa cackled and released another bolt of green lightning. It sizzled past Sherlock's ear, singeing the brim of his deerstalker. In the shadow of the tree, Moansa spotted Watson crouching beside her prey. "Oh, how delightful! You've brought me another soul to add to my collection. A 2-for-1 special. Oh, I do love a bargain." "Oh, it's getting hard now, Sherlock." A relieved Watson thrust the baton toward him. Sherlock grabbed it just as another shrieking cackle heralded a green thunderbolt. The blast crashed into the tree, protecting them. It split asunder with a crack, like the world breaking in two. A falling branch struck Watson squarely on the head. His ghostly form crumpled, unconscious, stretched out on the forest floor. "Watson!" Sherlock glanced at his fallen friend and sprinted toward another tree to draw Moansa's fire. Another blast of energy flashed past his ear as he fumbled for the button of the baton. Click! It began to vibrate in his hand. He dove behind a tree as yet another death ray narrowly missed its target, scorching the bark where his head had been a moment before. With his back tight against the tree, and Moansa cackling not 20 yards away, Sherlock watched as the ether around him began to swirl and coalesce. The metallic baton vibrated violently, sucking the blue etheric energy into itself, like a drunkard at last orders. Moansa released another energy blast. It bounced off the tree and careened into the swirling vortex above Sherlock's head. Almost instantaneously, the vortex fused with the baton in Sherlock's hand, stretching it into a long, thin blade of pure light. Just as Ninstein had predicted, the baton was a lightsaber, greedily feeding off any energy it could reach out and touch. "Right then," Sherlock muttered. "Let's see how you like a taste of your own medicine." He leapt out from behind the tree, the lightsaber raised high. Moansa fired off another beam of green energy. Without Sherlock needing to control it, the sabre moved instinctively, absorbing the blast in a flash of brilliant light. Moansa's eyes widened. That's not possible. Where did you get that thing?" From a friend, Sherlock said, advancing steadily. Turns out he's been working on more than just thermometers. She stepped closer, firing at will, but each shot of energy was devoured by the hungry blade. The air between them crackled with power. Sherlock's arm trembled from the strain of holding the weapon as it gorged itself on Moansa's attacks. "You fool!" Moansa shrieked. "Do you have any idea what that thing will do once it's fully charged? It'll consume everything, including you." "Then I'd better finish this quickly, hadn't I?" But Sherlock wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for every lost soul, for every spirit that had been stolen by this twisted sorceress. Also for his friend Watson lying unconscious on the ground, and for the Cockney woman's vanished Witty. He was fighting for all of them, drawing on the last of his reserves. Sherlock pointed the very tip of the lightsaber at the enchanted sorceress. "No, you can't." He pressed the trigger. A bolt of pure nascent energy erupted from the blade. Moansa screamed in pain and anguish as it struck her. The sabre fed off her power, consuming her energy like a starving beast. Her defences were ripped apart as she was sucked dry. Sherlock watched with both horror and fascination as his enemy began to fade before him. Her body was disintegrating, swirling into a cyclonic tornado of matter. She didn't utter another sound. Her voice had already been devoured. The random collection of atoms coalesced into a long, thin string of ectoplasmic particles. They hovered momentarily, like a question mark hanging in the air, before diving into the very tip of the energy sabre, which shook, rattled and rolled in what could only be described as perceived pleasure. "Oh my," Sherlock said faintly. Suddenly remembering Ninstein's instructions, he quickly pressed the off button as the last of Moansa's existence entered the blade. There was a gentle hum as the lightsaber closed in on itself, collapsing back into a simple baton. Exhausted, Sherlock fell to his knees. The ether fell silent, returning to its familiar faint blue. The trapped souls that had been hovering around Moansa began to drift away. Finally free, their grateful whispers faded into the mist. "Oh, did I miss anything?" Watto Watson emerged from the shadows, clutching his head and looking thoroughly confused. "Oh, not much, my friend." Sherlock gave a wry smile, pocketing the now dormant baton. "But we won't be seeing Moansa for a while. She got sucked into the mini wormhole that the energy saber thingy-majig created, just as Ninstein's predicted." Watson's face went through several interesting contortions. "Yikes, what a way to go," he shuddered. "Imagine being sucked off like that." "Quite." Sherlock rose to his feet, adjusted his slightly scorched deerstalker and took out his pipe. "Though I suspect she's not gone forever. These things have a habit of coming back round. Which reminds me, we need to return this contraption to Nine before it decides to have another meal, preferably one that isn't us." "Agreed." Watson dusted himself off. "You know, for a moment there, I thought we were done for." "We very nearly were." Sherlock gazed at the spot where Moansa had stood. "And she was right about one thing, though." "What's that?" "Oh, the afterlife is broken. More souls are getting lost, trapped and stolen. This won't be the last time we face something like this." Watson sighed. "Then I suppose we'd better get ready." "Indeed." Sherlock clapped his friend on the shoulder. "But for now, let's return that Cockney woman's Willie to her. I believe we'll find him, with the other freed souls, wandering around, wondering what on the underworld has just happened." They set off through the weeping woods, leaving the gates of despair behind them. The case was closed, but the afterlife was never truly at peace. For there would always be another mystery, another lost soul in need of help. But as long as he was around, Noshit Sherlock would make sure the truth was found. No nonsense, no lies, just the truth and no shit. The end. Well, that's it for another week. I hope you enjoyed that. If you do, remember, please like and subscribe and all the usual things. Thanks very much. Take care and stay safe.